Hi friends, welcome back. Today we are making something very much like Guerlain's Spiritueuse Double Vanille. This comes from a GCMS analysis and formula provided by Labtorium on the Fragrance Drama Instagram page. It's a wonderful formula. I've put it together a couple times now with different variations, and I think you're going to like it. There's some materials in here that are not typical. They are atypical in formulas, but they add a really nice color to this fragrance. Now, this was released, I believe, in 2007. It was perfumed by Jean-Paul Guerlain himself before Terry Wasser became the in-house perfumer for Guerlain. But the stuff is amazing. If we look at the fragrance breakdown, it is predominantly base notes. We have our sweet vanillic materials, our woody materials. Really, it's Iso Super, a little bit of cedarwood, and some sandalwood, some Sandalore. So a lot of musks, and then some Hedione. That is the majority of the fragrance. That's 98% of the fragrance. And then that extra 2% are a little bit of orange, a little bit of Linalyl Acetate, a little bit of, well, you'll see, Ethyl Isobutyrate, and some other very interesting things. But I think you're going to really enjoy what this smells like when you put it together. What we're going to start with today is the vanillic notes. It's called double vanilla, so let's just put all the vanilla sweet notes in first. We'll start there. We're going to start with Ethyl Vanillin. Ethyl Vanillin is 22% of the juice. I'm going to use almost half of this bottle here. I mean, this is a 10% dilution, but I'm going to use almost half of this bottle to start off our fragrance. So we're going to start Ethyl Vanillin. What I am making is roughly an 8-gram batch. The ending concentration will be about 20%, so it'll be strong. It'll be definitely an eau de parfum. Ethyl Vanillin is maybe more of the vanillin that you're familiar with, like vanilla ice cream. Plain vanillin, if we can call it that, it's vanilla, but it's not so sweet. It's not like vanilla ice cream. Ethyl Vanillin is vanilla ice cream. While we're talking about vanillin, let's add our vanillin. Yeah, just a little bit darker. Normal vanillin, just a touch darker. Darker than ethyl vanillin, I mean. Maybe a little less playful. No, this is not the only type of vanillin we're using. We have real Vanilla Absolute. Vanilla Absolute smells wonderful, but it's expensive. Vanilla itself is an expensive material, which is why when vanillin was synthesized in the lab, it was such a big deal. All of a sudden, you could have this extremely expensive smell, i.e. vanilla, at a much more affordable price. I also love the color of Vanilla Absolute. Okay, next up, Isobutavan, otherwise known as Vanilla Isobutyrate. This is also vanillic, can you believe it? It's sweet. It's also a little fruity. Fruity like red apple. Just a touch. Just a touch. I have to sneeze. False alarm. Don't want to sneeze while I'm using the pipettes. Okay, Isobutavan. Here we go. We are just stacking on the sweet materials here. We add the Sandalore, we add the musks. After we add the Cumarin here, and we're going to have one sweet fragrance. All right, last up here, Cumarin. Cumarin, one of the main molecules contained in tonka bean absolute. It's also sweet. To my nose, it's more fresh and bright than vanilla, ethyl vanillin. Also smells like hay. Growing up around hay fields and alfalfa fields, I can't say I really see that, but that's what they say. All right, we'll give this a little shake. And then we'll give it a dip, let it relax. Yeah, interesting. This bottle here is already half full. So let's let this relax. Let's add in the next round of materials. So what I have next is more base notes, stuff that really just fills and rounds out the fragrance. I want to start here because this is just going to support the vanilla. We're going to start with Iso E Super. If you've got timber silk, use timber silk. Timber silk is just Iso E Super, but with a different ratio of some of the isomers that are in Iso E Super. How do I put that? Iso E Super is just a molecule, but there's trans isomers and there's cis isomers. Basically what the molecule looks like. Does it go this way or does the molecule go this way? At least that's the way my brain understands it. Funny enough, this molecule just flipped like this smells a little bit different. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? And timber silk has a slightly different ratio of those cis and trans isomers of that main molecule. Next up, cedarwood, Virginia. Now there's a fair bit of cedarwood in here, 5% cedarwood. What I like about cedarwood is you add it to vanillin, and to my nose, it just kind of makes that vanillin a little bit more chocolatey. Maybe if we added patchouli, it'd get extra chocolatey, but I like the effect that cedarwood has with vanilla. Again, speaking personally here, in my HO. Almost done. All right. We've got our cedarwood, our Iso E Super. We've got 3 more. We're going to add in Hedione. Now I'm using Hedione HC, high cis Hedione. I believe this Hedione is, if I remember correctly, I better not say because I don't know. I don't know what the ratio of cis-trans isomers are in Hedione HC, but I know it's more powerful than normal Hedione. It's best to keep it cooled or put a little bit of BHT, an antioxidant, in your Hedione HC or even in your Hedione because Hedione HC, that I think it's the cis isomer that you want in Hedione, smells more powerful than the trans isomer. And that cis isomer is relatively unstable and it will convert to the trans isomer. Now I read this on the internet, so take that with a huge grain of salt, okay? But Hedione HC is supposedly a bit more unstable and it will convert to normal Hedione over time. So keep it cool, friends. Next up, Ambroxan, or Ambrox Super, or Ambrofix, or generally speaking, Ambroxide. Not much in this. There's only 0.03 grams at a 10% dilution. So I would say that this would function as a fixative, but there's so much vanillin and musk in here, we don't need more fixatives. I'll bet Ambroxan here in this small amount serves as more of an exalting agent, something that just helps add sparkle and push and projection, a little wonder to the fragrance. Last up, Sandalore. Fair bit of Sandalore. I do like Sandalore. It is very sandalwood-y, hence the name Sandalore. However, it's not as sweet as ebonol and bactanol. A little more subdued, but still present. It is still present. All right. We are good. I'll give this a little swish and mix. Okay. Let's dip. Let it relax. And let's smell our vanilla. Huh. Smells like vanilla. Who'd have thought? Could be the Isobutavan and the addition of a little bit of vanilla absolute. But this is warmer. And a bit fruitier. That Isobutavan is coming in. And that Ethyl Vanillin drives the sweetness. This is a wonderful, if we were to just use a vanilla accord, using vanilla, not other materials to mimic vanilla, but if we were to combine multiple vanillas, this is fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. We'll let the other stuff relax. Where I want to move from here is the musks. We're going to do all but one musk material, and I'll save one for the very end, and we'll see why. We are going to start with Habanolide. There's a lot of Habanolide in this formula. So much so, I'm using it neat. Not using a dilution, using it neat. There is just over 20% of the juice is Habanolide. Check out this color. Nice, soft yellow. Okay. Habanolide. Globanone. Globanone. Is this a Symrise product? Yeah. Globanone, let me update that, is a Symrise product. It's a creamy musk. This is going to creamy, a little bit floral. Definitely musky, sweet. This is going to go perfectly with our vanillin. This is almost like halfway between musk and vanillin. Interesting. Too bad there's only a splash in here. There's only one drop. And one drop might be overdoing it, depending on the accuracy and precision of my scale. Okay. The next musk. Exaltolide Total. Again, not much Exaltolide. Most of our musk was taken up by the Habanolide. Exaltolide, wonderful fermentage product. It's ubiquitous. This is in so much stuff. So many fragrances. And like Ambroxan, it helps, it can serve as an exalting agent in a formula. So I've read on the internet. Still learning these materials. One day I will be able to speak with confidence from personal experience. Until then, just got to keep trying, keep practicing, keep enjoying the journey. Next up, Ethylene Brassylate. Ooh, much more fruity than everything else. This is also known as musk tea. Occasionally we'll see it as musk tea. This should also go well with the vanilla material. One more drop. Okay. Ethylene Brassylate is quite a versatile musk. Okay. You could use, for example, just Ethylene Brassylate, Isobutyrate, and Hedione as a very simple base, very simple starter base for your fragrance, for any fragrance that you're working on. Next, finally, Ambrettolide. In a past video, I asked, or I noted, that I wonder where they got the name Ambrettolide. Did it smell like Ambrett seed absolute or Ambrett seed oil? I questioned. Turns out, Ambrettolide, this molecule, is found inside of Ambrett seed. Who'd have thought? Now that I read from an authoritative source. I did not read that on the internet. So take that one to the bank, friends. Okay, our musks are in here. I do want to give it a little swoosh. We put in a couple neat materials which can sometimes settle on the bottom. So I do like to just move the juice in there a little bit. And let's dip. Okay. I'm getting more careful with my dipping technique because occasionally the juice hasn't totally soaked into the scent strip and it'll flick and it'll get on my nose. It hasn't gotten in my eye yet, but it has gotten on my hand, it's gotten on my face, and maybe I'm just super clumsy, but I do not want that in my eye. Okay, remember we have our vanilla base. Then we added the rest of our woods, our Isobutyrate, Sandalore, Hedione, and our Ambroxan. This is so different than our vanilla base. The Isobutyrate, that Ambroxan, supercharged. Oh, and the Hedione, no, the Hedione too. Don't forget the Hedione. This is a supercharged vanilla. Like, oh my gosh. This is amazing. And I love how the cedarwood, it adds a dry, chocolatey aspect to it. Whew, I'm blown away by this. I could keep sniffing this, but alas, I have more to blend. So, oh, well, that is lovely. Oh, I'm just tickled. I'm tickled by that. All right, next up, we are going to do our fruits and florals. By fruits, I mean the Damascenone. Damascone, and then the florals, I mean we have Linalool, Citronellol, Geranyl Acetate. We're gonna have a little Styrallyl Acetate in there, just a little bit of green to help give a little realism to our floral notes, a little more sparkle and depth to our floral notes. So let us start with our Damascone Beta. This is a 1% dilution. This is fruity, ripe, fruity, like plum, ripe cherry, and you don't need much. 2 drops, 2.5, yeah, 2 and a splash. Do not need much. Okay. Now, not only do we have Damascone, we have Damascenone. We have less Damascenone than we had Damascone, but this stuff also, no, I'm sorry, we don't have less. This is a 10% dilution. I need to make a 1% dilution. I don't know why I do this. I need to get a half drop in there. Damascenone, to my nose, is even a little bit darker than Damascone. My brain currently wraps them all up in one bucket. If I had Damascone Alpha, Beta, Damascenone Total, Damascone Delta, all of those, if I had all of those on separate strips, I wouldn't be able to pick out which one is which. Not yet. So more work to do there. But I do love the smell, and I love that depth, the fruity depth that they bring to a fragrance, to a formula. Next up, Linalool. Linalool, just a touch to give a little sparkle to these fruity florals. Yeah, not much at all. Smelling a bit more soapy today to my nose. Maybe coming right after the Damascone. My nose just latches on to the brightness of Linalool. Next up, Geranyl Acetate. Again, not much. Remember what we discussed in the beginning of this video. Most of this is vanilla, isoe super hedione, and musk. And then there are only 1 drop here, 2 drops there of other materials. It's almost like these are just adding a little bit of color. Just a little bit of color to our subconscious, like we may not even pick it up. We'll find out when we do our scent strip test after we get in our Citronellol and our Styrallyl Acetate. Yeah, we will see. Okay, Citronellol, 1 drop. Nice rosy material. Yeah, rosy, also sweet. This is going to pair very well with our vanilla base. And last, Styrallyl Acetate. This is a 1% dilution, and there's only going to be 2 drops. Now, word of warning, every now and then, Styrallyl Acetate will be noted as it's either 1 phenethyl alcohol, or 2 phenethyl alcohol. I can't remember which. One of those molecules is the proper phenylethyl alcohol. The other is actually Geranyl or Styrallyl Acetate. So be careful. All right, I just looked it up. 1 phenylethyl alcohol is Styrallyl Acetate. 1 phenylethyl alcohol is Styrallyl Acetate. 2 phenylethyl alcohol is your normal phenylethyl alcohol. So know the difference, friends. Know the difference. Let's dip our fruity floral in here. Let it relax. I'm going to go back to the lavender and the woods. I might steal this and use this as a base. This is killer. Absolutely killer. Wow. All right. Let's smell the musk. We just added 30, we just doubled the formula size and it was all musk. So, oh, that's very interesting. The musk does add that white musk aspect to what we just smelled. It tones it down a little bit. It takes that volume, takes the pop off of that, what I just smelled, and it just turns it down from 11, turns it down to 7 or 8. Definitely calms it down, smooths it out, and makes it a little bit more mature. It's still fantastic. I could probably stop here, honestly, and be completely happy with what we had just made, but we've got our fruity florals we're going to let sit. I've got 3 more groups that we're going to do. First, top notes. We've got orange. We're going to start with our sweet orange. And again, there's not much. From here on out, we are not adding much of anything except for one of the musks we're going to add at the end. Sweet orange. It smells like a nice, ripe orange peel. Like when you peel an orange and you get that little spritz of oil off the peel that gets into the air. Love that smell. Love that smell. Just smells good. Okay. Sweet orange done. Next up, Linalyl Acetate. Again, not much. It's like linalool, except a little bit less metallic and more in the acetate, more in the acetic direction. I mean, it's just a little bit more towards vinegar. Vinegar has a certain vibe in your nose, in my nose. And linalyl acetate takes linalool just in that direction a bit. Next up, benzyl acetate. There's a breath of benzyl acetate. Just a breath. And that's enough. 5/1000ths of a gram will do it. Benzyl acetate is a very nice jasmine note without the linalool and methylantranilate and indole, but it's got that jasmine-like smell. Next up, methyl benzoate. Methyl benzoate. This one I don't use very often. I'm looking at what I have it. Oh no, actually I do have this in quite a few formulas. This is very, very strong, supposedly. I have it at a 1% dilution here, and I'm only putting in 3/100ths of a gram, so not much. So it's a bit camphorous or camphoraceous. I don't know what is the correct word there. I want to say camphoraceous, but I see it written as camphorous. It's a little bit balsamic, a little bit like wintergreen, but at a 1% dilution, it's much more controlled, much more subdued. I wanted to mix a little bit because we added in our quote-unquote top notes. And I'm not so sure I'm going to be able to smell a difference from when we evaluate our fruity floral materials, the additions there, with the with our top notes. Okay, next up. Let's wait. We're going to wait to evaluate. We've got 2 more groups that we're going to do, and let's get these in here. First, we have 3 materials I rarely use, and they're very interesting. 2 out of 3 are extremely interesting. Let's go with the least interesting, Hexyl Salicylate. This is like a classic salicylate. It's almost like sunscreen. Yeah, actually. It smells a little bit like sunscreen. Not like banana boat, not suntan lotion, suntan oil, like the stuff I put on my kids. Now there's not much. Yeah, that will do it. Not much Hexyl Salicylate. It's very much like hexanol, cis-3-hexanol salicylate, but without that cis-3-hexanol green grass vibe. It's like if you just tone down the green grass vibe, then hey, you've got Hexyl Salicylate. Next up, Ethyl Isobutyrate. This stuff is a kick in the pants. Absolute kick in the pants. I had to tone this down to a 1% dilution because it's strong. Actually, let me adjust my formula here. It's strong, but it's wonderful. It's sweet. It's fruity. Again, I get more apple. I get like ripe red apple. And it's ethereal, I think is the word. It does something in your nose. It's like there's a feeling in your nose. It's not just a smell. To my nose, anyways. So let's put the ethyl isobutyrate in here. What it smells like, functionally what this does, is not only give a fruit note to whatever it is, whatever it's blended into, but it gives you a punch. That first spray punch in the nose, ethyl isobutyrate, ethyl 2-methyl butyrate, or manzanate. Those types of materials seem to have that real karate chop from the get-go. Next up, an amazing material. Para-methylanisole, also known as Paracresol methyl ether. Narcotic. It's like you took the dirtiest part of ylang-ylang and just pulled that right out. Not quite animalic, but it's dirty, plant dirty. A little bit camphorous in the nose. This is a 10% dilution. I should bring this down to 1% as well. But funny, this is the only formula that I use this particular material. And to be honest, I don't even know if this is the right material for this formula. In the formula, it calls for Methyl Paracresol. I can't find that. I don't know what that is. The closest I can get is Paracresol methyl ether. That's the closest I can find, which is paramethyl anisole. So, fantastic stuff. Let's give, I've got another scent strip. I just called it Pop, because to me, that's what it does. It gives a little pop to the fragrance. So, let's get that here, and let's do our final 2 materials. Now remember, the rule of thumb, no matter how clean and wonderful the fragrance is, it has to have a little something. In this fragrance, we have 2. The first, Muscenone. This is not super animalic. It's a, Muscenone is actually a molecule found within deer musk. It's an important constituent in a deer musk accord. And it's musky and animalic, but it's musky and sweet and soft, but it's got that dirty animal fur to it. Note. Dirty animal fur note to it. It's just like a little, like a wet, not wet dog, but wet animal. And there's a good amount in here too. There's almost a full gram, at least at this 10% dilution. All right, that'll do it. Last, certainly not least, one of the more interesting materials I have, partly because it's called something completely inappropriate to what it actually smells like, but also I don't use this, rarely ever. It's called Rum Ether, or ethyl oxyhydrate. This is a 10% dilution. Again, I should dial it down to 1%, but this is the only formula I use it in right now. Rum Ether, what do you think this smells like? I would think Bacardi. Rum, something like that. There is a rum aspect to this, but underneath that rum aspect, it's like if you put rum and you aged it in a completely burnt out charred oak barrel, because there's smokiness to this. It's like bacon. It kind of smells like bacon. But there's a smokiness and there's an acidity to it. Come on, what I need is 0.06. That looks about right. Oh yeah, got it. Okay, let's set this aside. Rum Ether. Definitely a contrast to the sweet, smooth, wonderful, fruity stuff that we have going on. But we're going to see how it adds some color, because the Muscenone and the Rum Ether we have on their own strip, as far as when we added it to the juice. So let's dip. We'll let it relax, and we're going to go back and evaluate. Come on. Okay. First, vanilla base. Let's go back. Yeah. Nice vanilla. It's sweet and it's dark. I think that Isobutavan is helping with the darkness of the of that base. We add our Iso Super, Sandalore, Hedione, and Cedarwood, and we have a magic vanilla base. Absolute magic vanilla base, and I'm surprised at what the Hedione does. It really throws it up. Not vomits. Not throw it up, vomit. Lifts it up. That's what we're doing. All right, we add our musks. Okay, and this is basically the same, but you have the undertone of musk, of white musk, and it helps pull it down. It's as if in the previous scent strip, the fragrance was trying to, escape velocity from earth, and adding the musks help pull it back down to reality. Next up, fruity floral materials. Our Damascenone Linalool, Geranyl Acetate, Citronellol. Wow. There is not much of those materials, and this completely changes. Completely changes. It adds a beautiful, subtle rose. A beautiful, subtle rose to that vanilla musk base. Next up, we added our orange, our Methyl Benzoate, our Benzyl Acetate, and our Linalyl Acetate. Barely noticeable. Absolutely barely noticeable. I don't know if my nose got fried from the previous one, but this is I don't really notice a change. Okay, don't notice a change. Next up, we added the notes that help pop. First, paramethyl anisole, that dirty ylang-ylang. And then we have the Ethyl Isobutyrate and the Hexyl Salicylate. I think I could do without the Hexyl Salicylate. I can just barely get the sunscreen vibe in here. And it's not bad per se. It does give this nice green waxiness that spreads a waxy wash into the fragrance. The Ethyl Isobutyrate and the methyl anisole, paramethyl anisole, those are coming through. You're getting the dirty ylang. You're getting that apple, sweet apple, fruity pop from the Ethyl Isobutyrate. That's wonderful, but I wonder what it would smell like if I used, say, benzyl salicylate or amyl salicylate rather than hexyl salicylate. Now, finally, we have Muscenone and the Rum Ether. Let's see if the brain can pick up any differences. Yeah, yes, absolutely different. The Muscenone is very forward. The Rum Ether, I don't know if it's my brain telling my nose that it's there, or if my nose is just tickling my brain that, hey, do you smell the bacon? You smell the little smoky rum in there? Wow, okay. This smells fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to make a larger batch of this. This is going to be total gift mode. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to this vanilla woody musk base, and I'm going to use this as a starting point for other creative aspects, because this is a great place to start. Absolutely fantastic place to start. Friends, thank you again for joining me. Whip this up. I know there's quite a few materials in here that may not be in the in your perfumer's organ. If you got to swap something out, and then leave a comment for how do you think it smells, what were your replacements, and how does it smell to you. I will say that as this stands right here, fantastic. Great job, Labtorium. Thank you for posting this on Fragrance Drama's Instagram account, and thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.